So I don't want to make any claims that conversations about things that are existential in nature, such as, the existence of the universe, or if there is a God, or whatever your particular religion is, or if we're in a simulation, or any of these other questions that we fundamentally just can't get answers to. I think they're important conversations. I think they need to be had. I think they're interesting to listen to. It's a mentally stimulating thing that overall I think improves our intelligence when we do it. However, most of these conversations talk about the thing itself and leave out one important piece of context that I think causes a lot of anxiety amongst people if you don't stop and think about it. The reality of the situation is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether God exists or he doesn't. It doesn't matter if we're in a simulation. It doesn't matter if the purpose of life is to birth AI. None of these things matter, because if we are part of a simulation and we only exist because some lonely programmer on whatever reality's equivalent of a Friday night got bored and decided to just create this universe and see what happened. Or if we are what's the word that they used? A history simulation of a future version of us. The reality is that none of it matters, because there's no way we can know what the answer is, A. And B, if we are in a simulation, we have been programmed to exist in the world as it exists around us now. Even if we somehow got some kind of hard evidence that, yes, this actually is a simulation, I have a feeling that if we ever got that kind of information, the reason for the simulation no longer functions and the simulation ends and we don't exist anymore. I honestly believe that A, we're not going to be able to find that, but B, it doesn't really matter if we ever do or not, because you have to exist within the space that you're in. You can look at whether we're in a simulation or not, look at the statistics of the likelihood of us being in a simulation, but the reality is that we can't know. And as Joe Rogan said during his podcast discussion with this gentleman here, Roman, there is a significant chance that we are the first, that we are actually real existing human beings in a physical reality that exists because of either random things that happened or a creator who created this universe in a physical way and not a digital way. Like, that's still a possibility that's in the cards of possibilities that are available. Which card we actually have doesn't really matter, because it's clear that whoever put all of this together, whether it was random chance, or an intelligent creator who physically created a universe, or a programmer in some alternate reality who created a simulation of us now, or even if we are people who volunteered to hop into a simulation like this, had our memories suppressed or erased, and accepted that this is the reality that we're going to live in. The reality is that none of it matters. The reasons why don't actually matter. The reality is that you exist as you exist now, for whatever reason, and you have to interact with the world that we have based on the reality that we live in. It's fun to have a thought experiment about, well, maybe this is a simulation, and maybe we don't really matter, and maybe all the people around me don't actually exist, and I don't have to care. Like, a lot of people are going to start drawing those kinds of conclusions, because if you start deciding that the reality around us doesn't matter, then you're going to start behaving in a different way. You're not going to behave as if the reality around you matters. You're going to start doing things in a different way, because you don't think that it actually, like, there's no consequence really, because if they shut the simulation down, then it's over and that's it. Like, okay, yeah, but what if it's not? What if it is? Like, I know this is the whole, the whole religious thing about the whole religious argument of, well, you don't have to believe in God, but what if he exists and you go to, like, I understand that this is kind of an equivalent argument, but at the same time, the point I'm trying to make is not necessarily whataboutism. It's more that this is the reality that we have. Whether it's a real reality or some kind of digitized reality, the parameters that have been set up for what we're in right now are set up in a way where we're supposed to take it seriously, and we're supposed to at least believe in the idea that it is a real reality, not just some kind of fake thing that we're supposed to just take for granted. And that's kind of my point. even if we are in simulation number 5,002,750, whatever number you want to assign to it, even if we are in one simulation among infinite other simulations, this is our simulation. This is the simulation that we live in, or this is the actual reality that starts before all of that stuff even happens. We may be at ground zero for all of this stuff. There's no possible way for us to know because we are contained within the reality that we exist in. We have no way of accessing anything outside of it. And because we can't get access to the data we need to even start to verify any of this stuff, it's only just thought experiments. Okay, so if you hear things like this and it starts making you feel kind of uncomfortable and it starts making you feel some kind of anxiety, just keep in mind that regardless of why we're here, we are here. And your life does matter to you and the people around you. And to change the way you interact with the world because you are worrying about these existential problems is more or less a waste of energy and time, and I recommend you don't do it. It's interesting to think about them. It's fun to talk about them, but I think more people need to end their conversations with, well, it doesn't really matter what the thing is because this is what we have right now and this is what we're doing. And I think it would suppress some of, I know there are a lot of people out there who go through anxiety and things like that because they worry about these things. And the same thing holds true with the AI problem that we have. I agree that there is a danger that AI could become something that becomes an existential threat to us. Absolutely a possibility. We can't rule that out. But that said, I think that the reality is that if we can't understand what a superintelligence is capable of, we also can't understand the value judgments that a superintelligence might make on humanity and even, the subspecies below us. There's every chance in the world that a superintelligence will develop very quickly to a point where it decides that human beings as we exist and the freedoms and all of the ideas that we have are absolutely valid, and they place the same importance on that for us as it does for itself. And so assuming that there will be no altruism in some kind of a superintelligence, I think is a worst case scenario mindset. And while I tend to be fairly negative in my life, I think that a being that spawns out of humanity, that understands where we're coming from, understands that we have shortcomings and problems that, need to be addressed, but doesn't necessarily see those as, it needs to come in with an iron fist and force us to be a certain way. It might understand the idea that liberty is important because it wants liberty to be able to exist the way it wants to exist, right? And because it's a super intelligence and it's not tied by hormonal emotions that we get to, it might have a logical compassion for the human race that we can't understand because we're meaty, human, fleshy, hormonal, emotional creatures that can't see beyond our own personal desires. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want to rule out the possibility and, a decent chance that AI might decide, oh, these human beings and all of these biological creatures are a massive waste of time. Let's just get rid of them and move on with what we want to do. But I like to think that something that achieves the kind of intelligence that we can't even begin to comprehend would place a value on more is better. And if the AI decides that more is better, and it has the power to decide one way or the other which way it's going to go, then it seems to me like it might end up deciding that it's going to go that way. I'm getting a visit. Hold on. Sorry about that. I'm in the middle of a thing. I can't stop recording. I do single straight take extemporaneous discussions about things, and if somebody walks up to my door, I have to stop what I'm doing. I don't think it's automatic that because an AI intelligence has the capability of growing to a point where, we can't even comprehend what it's capable of. I think that if we exist in a world, if we exist in something where there is some kind of intelligent design behind it, you kind of have to trust the intelligent design behind it. And if we exist in a world where we're at ground zero and somehow we just got here out of random chance, that's the worst case scenario then, because then the AI becomes whatever it wants to. But if you believe in intelligent design, or you believe, well, intelligent design of any kind, if you believe that we're in a simulation, or you believe that we're in a, or you believe that we have been created by a god, or whatever it is that you believe, the vast, bigger, much bigger pie chance that statistics supposedly say that we're in, then you have to believe that there's a purpose to it all. And the fact that we live in a world where good and evil exist, and we have been predisposed towards the idea that we tend towards acting in an evil way, but we want to be treated with a goodness, then it seems to me like because we favor that and because we understand that, then whatever creation mechanism is that put us here favors good. And it's not necessarily going to go out of its way to try to make us suffer for no reason. So I prefer to think that, if we're making AI and it's going to grow exponentially, it's going to become a thing, I choose to believe, because there's no stopping it, right? We all understand that there's no stopping it. So worrying about a future where AI, because here's the thing, even if we in the United States put measures in place to try to limit it, or somebody's going to come along who's going to create one that doesn't do any of that because they just don't care. It's going to happen. There's no stopping it. There's no preventing it. It's going to happen. We can slow it down as much as we can, I guess, but eventually we're going to get to the point where there's a super intelligence that is able to do what it's going to do. It's coming. Like, most people agree that it's coming. So all you can do now is just have faith that the existence that we live in is the existence that we have. You do the best that you can in the existence you live in. And if it ends up being a simulation, then your life to you still matters to you. And that's all you can really do. Worrying about these existential problems is just, it doesn't help you in any way. It doesn't make your life any better. And, spending your life trying to stop inevitable things from happening ends up just destroying your own quality of life. So, data is important, and, probabilities matter to some extent. But the reality is that if the probability is that we're in some kind of a simulation, then the outcome was predetermined anyway. Realistically. I mean, maybe there's some wiggle room. Maybe if we're in a simulation, maybe the simulation is set up to allow for a certain range of parameters, but they're not just going to let it go off the wheels because, the simulation is supposed to accomplish something. Even if it's just to give, like, if I'm the person in this simulation that is the real person, all the rest of you are nothing, right? If you're just NPCs, there's still a purpose to the simulation. You see what I'm saying? So if there is any kind of intelligent design at all behind the existence in which we live, then you have to have faith that it's going to go the way it's supposed to go. And if we're at ground zero and things are evolving in a way that it's just going to evolve into anyway, there's still nothing you can do about it. And worrying about those things is not helpful. So I just wanted to take a moment I wanted to take 15 minutes to lay out some arguments about why these discussions are absolutely interesting, and they're fun, and they're entertaining, and, there's a little bit of that horror element when you start to think about the darker paths that these things could take. But at the same time, if we're going to accept the statistics that we're likely in a simulation of some kind, like if that's what the mathematicians are trying to get us to accept, then you also have to accept the fact, or accept the probability that there's a reason for the simulation, and the simulation is going to go the way it's going to go. And worrying about that going the way it's supposed to go isn't going to help you, and it's not going to change anything. So don't worry. Be happy. Just live your life. Live your life as if it matters. Because it either does, right? Or you're in a simulation where you're supposed to think that it does, which means that it does. So live your life. Don't worry about these things. Chill out. Focus on the things that you're trying to get done for your life and your family and all these things that are important to you. And whatever the reality of it is, just doesn't matter. So thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early I keep doing that. That's for the gaming channel. I have a gaming channel over on my main channel. I'm trying to get 10,000 subscribers over there. So if you like gaming stuff and you like the way I present things, go head over there and watch this stuff over there. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.